This is something like a forced landing issue.
We're going to turn now to that terrifying video of an engine fire on a United Airlines flight forced to make an emergency landing in Denver. It appears.
Plane crash, forced landing issue.
Trouble on the tarmac. Panic as a Delta flight's engine catches fire just moments after it pushed back from its gate in Orlando.
Commit the sky in the presence of God. Because this is something like forced landing issue. Plane crash, forced landing issue. This is something like a forced landing issue. Don't be surprised. If I see, I see. If I see,
We're going to turn now to that terrifying video of an engine fire on a United Airlines flight forced to make an emergency landing in Denver. It appears to have been caused by an extremely rare rabbit strike. Transportation correspondent Gio Benitez has more for us. Good morning, Gio.
Hey, Michael, good morning. Yeah, we hear about bird strikes in planes all the time, but this time we're talking about a rabbit on the runway, and it got into the engine right at takeoff. This morning, an unusual animal encounter causing a scare in the air.
Rabbit through the number 2, that'll do it, all right.
A rabbit somehow making it into the right engine of United Airlines Flight 2325 from Denver to Edmonton Sunday, right as the Boeing 737 with 159 people on board was taking off.
There was a loud bang and a significant vibration in the plane. We proceeded to still climb.
Harrowing video from inside the cabin showing large flames shooting from that engine.
Every few moments, there was a backfire coming from the engine, a giant fireball behind it. Everybody in the plane then started to panic.
The soaring blaze visible from the ground.
My stomach dropped and I just thought, I'm gonna see a plane go down.
Take with you all your belongings.
The pilots quickly responding to malfunctions in the cockpit. At one point, thinking the fire was impacting the landing gear.
The landing gear, we have indication is no lock up.
The plane turning around after about 75 minutes in the air. And United tells us that the flight returned safely to Denver. Now, wildlife strikes in general, they're actually very common. The FAA says there were more than 20,000 of them last year in America. But when you're talking specifically about rabbits, there were only 4, so this was extremely rare, Robin.
Yeah, it was. Okay, GR, thanks to you.
Trouble on the tarmac. Panic as a Delta flight's engine catches fire just moments after it pushed back from its gate in Orlando. And as scary as it was to watch from inside the airport, passengers on the plane say they were panicking, Luann, as they struggled to get off. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Manny Martinez.
Good evening. I'm Luann Sorrell. Let's get right out to Fox 35's Hannah McKenzie. She is joining us live from the airport tonight. So, Hannah, why did the passengers say they had trouble getting off this plane?
Well, Luann, Manny, with the passengers, in addition to the crew, it was almost 300 people panicked, all trying to get out of very few exits. And tonight we're hearing only one of the available emergency slides on the plane was operational. Video shows the moments flames spark from the plane. The FAA now confirming one of the engines on the Airbus A330 caught fire Monday morning. The flight was heading to Atlanta with 282 passengers, but didn't make it off the tarmac. Channing Wells was on board with her mother and son.
He asked us, says, "Mom, are we going to die?" I was like, "No, not today." And even some of the staff was panicking. You had kids, you had adults who were having anxiety attacks. It was rough.
To make matters worse, Wells says only one of the available emergency slides was operational.
You cannot get all those people off through one exit door, especially when they're trying to panic and pushing. We were not getting off that plane.
Anthony Brickhouse, an associate professor of aerospace safety, says the number of slides on an aircraft is determined by the number of passengers it can hold.
In order for an aircraft to be certified, it has to have a certain number of working slides, and they have to test that. It looks like everything worked out today, but this could could have easily been a tragic situation.
Wells and others forced to wait for boarding stairs to be brought to the plane. But some passengers, she says, didn't stick around.
Everyone was not getting off the plane fast enough. There were several who jumped off.
According to the Orlando International Airport, 3 people were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. No word on how those injuries were sustained.
Everybody was running everywhere, and we were trying to figure out on our plane what was going on. And then all of a sudden, you could see like smoke coming from the back of the plane.
Jeremy Hunt watched it all happen from his seat on board a different Delta plane. Not a comforting sight as he was taking off to North Carolina. So the next time you take a trip, if you're wondering which seat is the safest, Brickhouse says it's a very common question, but it doesn't really have an answer. He says he prefers a seat in the exit row because it could possibly mean getting off the plane quicker, depending on the situation. He says that plus the extra legroom. Live at MCO tonight, Hannah McKenzie, Fox 35 News.